Hello, and welcome to Let's Go with GoOpenNC. If, after today's presentation, you wish to go back and reference these slides again, please do so by going to bit.ly/GoNCSlides. Again, that's bit.ly/GoNCSlides. I'd like to start out today by introducing you to the three innovative learning catalysts from the Digital Teaching and Learning Division at NCDPI. First, in the east, based in Dare County, is Molly Holloman. Next, in the central part of the state, based in Wilson County, is Chris Beneck. And in our west, based in Catawba County, is Stacy Lovedahl. For today, I will be your guide. Again, my name is Chris Beneck, and I am the Innovative Learning Catalyst for the central part of the state, working through the Digital Teaching and Learning Division at the North Carolina Department of Public Instruction. I'm also an ITF for Wilson County Schools. If you wish, you can reach me at my email, chris.beneck@dpi.nc.gov, or you can follow me or direct message me on Twitter at TechGuyBeneck. Here's a look at our agenda for today. First, we're going to learn how to locate and log in to GoOpenNC. Then, we're going to learn some different ways to efficiently search for resources on GoOpenNC. Lastly, we're going to talk a little bit about how to organize those resources that you find. If you'll notice in the blue box, there's some suggestions for things to think about moving forward. Before we delve into GoOpenNC and the OER, or Open Educational Resources available to us there, let's take a moment and discuss the what and why of OER. OER are teaching, learning, and research materials available to the public that have been released under an open license. This means they are free to access, use, redistribute, and even adapt or remix, many times with limited restrictions or no restrictions at all. The video on this slide does an excellent job of explaining open licensing. We won't be watching it in this session, but I would encourage you to go back afterwards and review it. It's very short, but full of useful information. Remember, you have access to these slides by going to bit.ly/GoNCSlides. So, why would we want to use OER, or Open Educational Resources? Well, in basic terms, they are valuable to us as educators because since they are free, cost is not a barrier to their access or use. Also, based on their license, many times they can be adapted or remixed to meet the individual needs of your students and ensure they are relevant and up to date. Lastly, if we all work together to review, rate, and tag these materials, we can be sure that we are sharing and using quality educational resources and building a library of those resources together. Here, we see a brief description of the Creative Commons licenses that you will encounter when working within GoOpenNC. You can also license your own materials using the Creative Commons website linked at the word licensing on the upper left. When you go to the site, you can get help choosing exactly what kind of license you need, and you can get an in-depth explanation of what each part of the license means. In a moment, I am going to show you how to locate and log on to GoOpenNC. When we get there, we will find the following: a platform where educators can search for and use North Carolina standards-aligned high-quality OER. A place that enables users to curate and create OER. A robust repository of quality, open instructional materials. We'll find professional learning. We can find it, we can vet it, and we can use the OER. We'll also find an OER community of practice. Now, we are going to move on to the GoOpenNC platform. See you there. Alright, so obviously in order to work on the GoOpenNC platform, first we've got to be able to find it. So, two methods that I suggest for getting to and logging on to GoOpenNC. The first is old trusty Google. So with this one, we're going to just type in GoOpenNC, and we'll look at the results list as they come up. A couple of different things are going to come up here, but This recent activity is generally the first thing to come up, hashtag GoOpenNC, and if you look the address there, goopennc.oercommons.org, that's where we want to end up eventually. Now you can get there through the Open Educational Resources DPI site and through some of the other things as well. But I'm just going to click on recent activity first, and when I do, what it's going to do is it's going to actually take us to this home page for GoOpenNC that looks just like this. Now, if you'll notice, it's going to ask you to sign in right here. And when it asks you to sign in, it's going to be asking you to sign in with your NC Ed Cloud account. So same thing that you would use to get to PowerSchool or to get to NC or any of those other things you would be using to get in here. So I've actually already signed into my Ed Cloud account. So I'm just going to click over there right now to that dashboard, and I'm going to close this tab because I don't need that tab open. So when I look here, obviously we have all of our icons that show up when we come to NC Ed Cloud. What we're looking for specifically right now is this GoOpenNC right here. So I'm just going to click on that, and when I do, this would be the second way I could get to the platform, and you see it takes me to that exact same home page that it took me to when I was on Google. So, and I can scroll down just like I could have done there and look at the information there. The difference now is that I'm logged on, and I know I'm logged on because when I come up here and look, I see my avatar right there. Now, the first time you log on to GoOpenNC, you may not see your avatar when you get there. You may see a symbol, kind of looks like a little coat hanger or something like that. That might be what you have when you get there. So don't fret. We're going to look right now at how we can actually get into and change our profile a little bit. That's going to be the first thing that we're going to do here on GoOpenNC before we get into navigating anything else at this particular time. So to get started, you would click on what's probably your coat hanger, what is my avatar, and then it's going to bring up this box, and I'm just going to come down to my profile information and click on it. When I do, it gives me my name, all right, and all this information up here is actually what you would go in and fill in on your own. So if I come down here to my profile, this is where I'm going to come in and edit and make sure that my name is correct. I'm going to put in my country, my state. I can choose multiple roles that describe you, so I chose several different roles here. You can choose several different levels that you work with. You can choose the subject or subjects that you work with, and you can give a little brief bio information there, so should you so desire, and you can change your profile image. That's where I put in my Bitmoji there. You can also link your social media. So I have in my Twitter account right here. And once I'm done, if I've changed everything that I want to change, then I just need to make sure that I click on save. And when I do, that's going to save the information that I put in there. Now, I've made the mistake in the past of not clicking save, thinking that I had put information in there. And then when I went back and looked, it was no longer in there, or it didn't show up on my profile. So I had to go in and do it again just to kind of give you some insight there as to some things that you want to make sure that you're doing. So make sure that you go in and hit save whenever you make a change to your profile. Okay. Now, as you get more comfortable with GoOpenNC, my items, my groups, my hubs, those things are going to mean a little bit more to you. But for today, we're just kind of looking at the basics of GoOpenNC and how to get started with it. So to get started, you would want to change your profile. So that's going to take us to our next part, which is actually going to be navigating from the home page. So if I come back here, when we get to the next part, we're going to learn how to use these search boxes, and we're going to learn how to find resources and save those resources so that we can use them. So see you in a second. Okay, so now that we've learned how to actually find GoOpenNC, and we've learned a little bit about how to make some changes within our profile or just to set up our profile, what we want to talk about right now is how to actually go in and find something that we can use from within this interface or from this website. So I'm going to show you a couple different ways to do that. And in order to do that, what I'm going to focus on is looking for whole lesson plans. Now we can try to find a lot of things. You can find illustrations, you can find case studies, you can find primary sources, activities, games, assessments, all those kind of things. But I'm going to look specifically at finding a whole lesson plan for us to be able to use, all right? I'm going to show you a couple of different ways to get to those lesson plans or to those resources as you see fit. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to come up here to this Discover tab, because we see that very prominently up here at the top. So if I click on the Discover tab, it gives me an opportunity to choose between resources, collections, or providers. Okay, providers are going to be if you know that you have one particular place that you like to get your information from as you've been using it. So say it's Michigan Virtual Schools, or say that it's CK12, or say that it's, you know, the New York resources that we have available to us, whatever. You can choose from the providers. Collections is going to take us to the collections of materials that are set aside within GoOpenNC. So you see that here we have assessments, English language arts, North Carolina line math, science, those kind of things, North Carolina line social studies. As you go through, you can see what the different curated collections are and how many resources are available from within each one. Okay, and then you can just specifically go in and choose to look for a resource. So let's click on resources, and let's say that I am an American History 1 teacher, so I'm teaching mainly 11th graders, and let's say that I'm doing a lesson on migration prior to the Civil War and homesteading and those kind of things, and I want to find a great lesson about homesteading and migration prior to the Civil War. Okay, so I come to Discover and I have subject areas here, I have grade levels, and I have material types. These are the things that I can search for, you know, when I'm looking. So again, I'm going to focus on lesson plans. So I'm going to come down here to material types first, and I'm going to click on lesson plans. We see here that there are actually 16,951 lesson plans available, but that's where I'm going to use, this is what I'm going to use as my jumping off point. All right. So now that I'm in the lesson plan part of searching resources, now I can do a couple of different things. I can put in a keyword here. So if I know that I have a keyword, and I'll go back and look at that in just a second, that I want to use, or I can come in and I can start by subject area and education standards and those kind of things. So let's do our education standards. Okay, let's say that we are going to search for, we're specifically looking for our North Carolina social studies standards. Okay, so we have those here. All right, and the grade level is going to be, if we're teaching 11th grade American History 1, obviously we're going to choose grades 9 through 12. Our learning domain, in this particular case, we're teaching American History 1. So then we're going to choose our tag, okay? And our tag is going to be, the specific standard that we're looking at, okay? And so for us right now, I know that I want to look for American History Standard 3.2, H.3.2, all right? So that's what I'm going to choose, okay? When I do that, now we've gone from thousands and thousands and thousands of resources down to 20, okay? And I can look through these and see what it is that I want to use and look at them as we go through, all right? So, for example, Beginning of a Dream, the Homestead Act made law, Part 1 and Part 2. I've looked through these. These are great interactive lessons using primary resources. Cherokee removal, the Dawes Act, differences among colonial regions, all right? But what I want to pick and show you today is the Homestead Act. So we're specifically talking about the Homestead Act and movement, all right? So we're going to click on this Homestead Act right here, all right? And, excuse me. So we're looking here at a resource from Virginia, actually. And you can go through and read the general information about it right here. The time required, 1 to 3 hours. It's a lesson plan. It's for high school American history. And I'm going to go in here and I'm going to look at view my resource. All right. So when I do this, it's going to take me to a separate page, and that's okay. I'm good with that because it's taking me to the actual resource. I don't have to go digging through Google to find it. All right, so in this lesson, students learn about Western movement after the Civil War and the economic opportunities offered to the people who moved. It's the Homestead Act, how it changed our nation. You can go through and read all of these things, okay? So it talks about starting in 1862. It gives you all the background on it, gives you your lesson objective right here. And then what's really great is it gives you all of the materials to be able to actually complete this lesson. So if you look at it, you'll have access to a PowerPoint, which if you're using Google tools, of course, you can open in Google, or you can use it as the PowerPoint. You have access to the student packet of primary resources and the student analysis worksheet that goes along with that. All right. Now, I've looked through all these, and I will say that this link right here ends up being a dead link, unfortunately. But what's great is that letter is actually in this primary sources images right here, and you can go through and find it on the Library of Congress anyway. So all of that information is here. All right. So everything that you need to be able to do the lesson is there. All right. They give you the procedure, okay, how to assess your students, and of course the references. And then we always want to make sure that we're looking, what is our Creative Commons attribution down here, all right? So the Creative Commons for this particular one is we have to give attribution for the person that created it, and we have to share it just as it is. So we can't remix this one or change it. Now, let's say that I really like this resource, okay? And I'm not saying you have to use this one, obviously, but let's say that we really like this resource. This is one that I want to save. So I'm going to save this to my items, okay? And I can save it to a group, all right? Any of those groups that I'm part of, or I can create a new folder. See, I have PD and I have Spanish. I'm going to create an American History 1 folder. Okay, so American History 1. And I'm going to leave that in my items. That's where I want it. So I'm not going to move that. And I'm going to hit create and save. And now I have saved one item to my items, American History 1. Okay. So now I have that information. If I click on my profile and I go to my items, I should see an American History 1 folder if I went through there. Okay. But more specifically, I'm going to see the Homestead Act is going to show up right here. Now I have all items, all right? I can go to saved items, any of those, or I can look at my folders specifically. So if I just want to know what I have in my American History folder, I click that, and there's the Homestead Act. So that is one way to go through and find a resource using GoOpenNC, okay? So let's look at another way to do it. So another way to do it, I'm just going to click back to the home page for GoOpen. I'm going to close that tab with the Homestead Act. All right. Another way that we can find a resource is to actually just type in the resource name that we're looking for. Or, for example, we're looking in this case for something about homesteading and migration. So if I just type in homestead and nothing else here, I'm going to hit search. And when I do, it's going to bring up everything that has to do with homestead, which is 58 results, okay? Now, there's 58 results. You see that the first one that comes up is that Homestead Act, right? I always want to make sure that I'm doing it by the right level, okay? Because as I look through some of these might seem like they're really, really good and they'd be great to use, and I've looked through some of them, but some of them are geared towards middle school. So we want to make sure that at the very least we are looking at high school resources here for homesteading. And again, I can go through and I can choose my subject area. I can choose my standard. All right. So I have homesteading right here. I've chosen high school, and see here where it says that this is actually a lesson plan right there. All right. But if I want to make sure that I'm looking at lesson plans, I would go down here to the material type, and I would choose lesson plan, see if that filters it down anymore. And it does. Okay. So now we're filtered down to 34, and everything that's in here should be a high school lesson plan having to do with homesteading. Okay, so that's another way that we can find a resource when we're looking in here. Then I'm going to come back here to GoOpenNC, all right? And this time let's switch. Let's say that we are teaching 4th grade mathematics, and we're working with units of measurement. Specifically, we're working with perimeter and area, all right? So this time, I'm going to use these bars, my subject, my grade, and my standard, all right? So for my subject, obviously I'm going to choose mathematics, All right. For grade, I'm going to choose 4th grade because I'm a 4th grade math teacher. All right. And for my standards, I'm going to choose my North Carolina math standards here, and I'm going to click search. All right. So this should help us by bringing up the results that have to do with 4th grade math. Okay. Now, when I do that, I have 1,264 results, right? So I probably want to narrow that down a little bit. Specifically, I want to narrow it down to the standards having to do with perimeter and area. Okay, so I want my North Carolina math standards. I want it to be the grade 4 standards. My learning domain in this particular case, we're working with measurement and data. Okay, and my alignment tag that I'm going to work with for this, okay, I want to solve problems with area and perimeter, so 4.md.3, find areas of rectilineal figures with known side lengths, solve problems involving a fixed area, etc., etc. So I'm going to choose that standard, and now we're going to move from 380 some results down to 57 results, right? But I see that of the 57, this is an activity, right? This is a lesson plan. This is an assessment. So again, we decided that we're going to look for specifically lesson plans here. So I'm going to click on that, and that's going to take us from 57 resources down to 25 resources, all right? And another cool thing that I can do is now I've got 25 resources all aligned to that 4th grade standard, but now I'm going to sort them by rating, okay? So the more that you go in and the more that you rate these activities, the better it'll be for others, including yourself, to go through and search. And see, the first one that comes up is this measuring the flag, all right? So it's got 5 stars. It's a lesson plan. It's from the Smithsonian. We can go through and we can look at this one, and you can decide for yourself if you think it's a 5-star rated lesson plan. But you can also go through and you can read the comments from other people that have used this, all right? So, and how they've used it and if they liked it. You can see all of the standards it aligns to. See, it does align to some grade 3 standards and some grade 4 standards, all right? So, grade 2 as well. So, it can be used at multiple levels, obviously. We can view the resource again. We can save the resource just like we did the last time, all right? And then you can go in and you can also rate it yourself should you want to, okay? So those are a couple different ways that you can go through GoOpenNC to find a resource. Obviously, there's other ways to do it, and there's other ways to filter down your results, but hopefully that will help you to get started. To round out our discussion today, we're going to look at groups and hubs in the GoOpenNC platform. Let's get started by looking at groups. A group is something that anybody on GoOpenNC can create. Anybody here can also join any group that's there. When you join a group, you can look at the resources that have been shared by other members of the group. You can participate in discussion forums. You can also look through the members board and see or try to connect with other members of the group. So it's a great collaboration tool and breaks down the resources and the educators by, well, groups, obviously, and interests in this particular case. So to get to the groups in GoOpenNC, we're going to click on the arrow at the word groups. And when we do, it's going to bring up My Groups and Featured Groups. Now, if you haven't joined any groups yet, then you're probably not going to have anything under My Groups. So you'll go to Featured Groups and click on See All Groups. When I do this, it takes me to the GoOpenNC Groups page, where you can find groups created by GoOpenNC members. Now, I can look through the entire list. I can also filter. So I could filter the group by general, by instructors, students, or administrators. Let's say I want to find groups with other instructors. I can do it by subject. So if I look through here and I say, okay, what do I want to look for? I'm a Spanish teacher, so I'm going to look at world languages. All right. And then I can look at grade levels as well. I'm going to leave it at all grade levels. So now I can see what's available to me as far as groups go on GoOpenNC. So when I look at this, all right, the most obvious one that sticks out to me is the North Carolina World Language Educators Group. So I'm going to click on this. And since I haven't joined it, I have the option of joining when I click on it. And to do that, I would simply click on the green button right here. So when I click on this green button, it automatically makes me a member of the group because I'm logged on to GoOpenNC. As long as you're logged on, you can create a group and you can join any group. Now, once I've joined a group, I have several things that I can look at as far as information involved in that group goes. The first, and probably most important to begin with, would be the resources. So these are all the resources that have been shared by members of this group and that they deem as appropriate for going with this group. And if you have resources you want to share, you would simply click back on this green button under Contribute, and you could submit from the web, or you could submit something that you actually authored yourself. Okay. Another feature under groups is the discussion board. So any member of the group can come in and post a discussion and see if anybody else in the group has replied to that discussion or will reply to that discussion, how many people have viewed it, what the comments are, and those kind of things. So you can reach out to other members of the group across the state in the hopes that they'll get back to you and share their opinions, resources, or ideas. We can look at the list of members of the group. So I can click through and look at those. And when you click on the member, it gives you some information about them, such as what resources they have listed and those kind of things, what their roles are, all that information. All right. You can find information about the group itself, which is just kind of generic. And you can look at recent activity from the group, what's been posted. The last time something was posted on this was on May 21st, 2020. And this is what was posted, and I could go in and look at it from there. So several things that you can do within groups, and there's groups galore available for you out there on GoOpenNC. Now, if you wanted to create a group, I go back to that main group page, and if I want to create a group, I simply click on the Create Group button. I give my group a name, I give it a type, and then I just continue along following the instructions as they go. Very simple, very user-friendly. So groups are awesome because they are created by other educators and they allow us to join based on what we teach, what we're interested in, maybe our geographic location, any of those things. So they're helpful to us in many different ways. Whereas groups can be created and added to by anybody logged into the GoOpenNC platform, hubs are just a little bit different. A hub is a location where groups, collections, and folders are all organized in relation to a content area or a project. To get to hubs, what we're going to do is click on the arrow right here. And just like when we were going into groups, on the left-hand side, it's going to show you My Hubs, hubs that you've already joined. And on the right-hand side, the featured hubs, and you can go to See All Hubs. If this is your first time in GoOpenNC, you probably don't have any hubs bookmarked or noted, so you don't have anything in the My Hubs side. So we'll go to See All Hubs and look at what's available. So as we scroll through here, we can see some of these have to do with specific types of subjects. For example, STEM literacy. All right. Some of them have to do with other groups like beginning teacher support or project-based learning. This one here is specific to Johnston County. So if you weren't in Johnston County, you would probably not join that hub or not be accepted into that hub. But we just pick any of them to look at. We can look at the Remote Learning Resources Hub created by DPI. So like if I click on that one, it's going to take me to the home page for this. It's a collaborative space for educators to plan for remote learning for students. It gives you it basically takes you to the groups, okay? Takes you to a video lesson series, and then, of course, learning management courses to go along with that. Other groups are set up slightly different. For example, if you click on the STEM literacy group, you will see that this is broken down, of course, into the welcome. Then you can go further down the page to look at North Carolina educator created STEM resources. And those have been added by an administrator or a GoOpenNC team member. You can look at the members of the STEM educators group on GoOpenNC. You can look at the providers that are working with GoOpenNC to create materials to go along with this. But the main key here and the difference is that a hub is, again, created by one of the GoOpenNC team members. And if you want to create a hub or you see a need to create a hub, you can't do it yourself as a GoOpenNC user, but you can contact the team and work with them to get a hub created for something that you'd like. So that's just kind of the general idea of what a hub is and what the difference between hubs and groups are. I hope that you guys have gotten some information that you can use today, as well as a good idea about how to start using and exploring within the GoOpenNC framework. I certainly appreciate you taking the time to watch and listen today, and please don't hesitate to reach out if you ever have any questions. I can be found on Twitter at TechGuyBeneck, or you can reach me at my email at chris.beneck@dpi.nc.gov. Have a great day. My partner for today's training is the ILC from the East, Molly Holloman. She can be reached on Twitter at MollyBrandon, and her email address is molly.holloman@dpi.nc.gov. To make sure you receive credit for attending today's session, please make sure you go to the URL listed on this slide at bit.ly/K12 ENG-S23. It's case sensitive, so again make sure you go to bit.ly/K12 ENG-S23.